Hello, there I am. Hi folks, welcome to my studio. My name is Matthew Palmer and welcome if you join me for this live watercolour demonstration. We're broadcasting live here from beautiful Derbyshire. The sun is shining out there, folks, so thanks for sticking through this, and welcome to another live watercolour demo. Please let me know if the sound's okay, it's always a good start. And let me know if everything's broadcasting fine. Now just here is the sketch for this landscape scene that I'm going to paint with you over the next hour or so. So stick with us, folks, and please enjoy this. Ask me any questions in the comments. I'll try and answer them as I go through the demo. But I've been doing lots of live stuff with you. We've been doing lots of interesting pictures over the past few weeks. So I've kind of been enjoying this isolation thing because it's got me doing all this live stuff. So it's been really cool. And these things at the bottom of the screen, you can just see sort of here. These things, these live workshops have been very popular. So thank you for those people that have been taking part in these live workshops. I've got one again this Sunday. You can see just at the bottom of the screen a bit of an advertisement for that. So if you fancy that, there's a few spaces left, folks. If you want to get yourself booked in, and it's £10 English pounds for this, and it's Sunday the 26th of April, and it's just using three colours and three brushes, and you can produce some wonderful watercolour painting. I'm talking while this thing is here, and it's nice to watch the viewers coming in as we do this as well. So if you do want to work along with this demonstration, it's important to say the difference between a demonstration and a workshop. So this is a demo. I want to paint this thing pretty much straight through for you. I'll try and answer your questions, so please do pop them in the live chat if you're watching this on YouTube. That's always good fun. And a demo versus a workshop. A demo is me painting a picture straight through, okay? A workshop, I'll do it steady. I'll give you time to work along. I'll break it down very steady for you. That's exactly what these things are. So I imagine there's quite a few people watching this demo that have already took part or already signed up to this thing. So if you're interested in this, here in the description below, if you're watching this on YouTube, is a link where you can book in. I'm literally down to the last few places. I'll pop a link in the comments as well for the people that are watching this thing. So that's all the information. It's just a tenner, and you can join us. You can join us on Sunday for a 4-hour painting session. What more could you want, eh? Can't go wrong. Let me turn the sketch off the screen, folks, and we'll start putting some paint on this picture. We'll talk about materials and various things with you. We'll have a look around the studio and see what's happening as well. So the sketch for this particular picture here has already been done. Of course, you can see I've got it all sketched in. Just a few good mornings to people. So hello if you're dropping in on the comments. Betsy is saying that in America it works out about $12. Yeah, exactly. So you know, $12 for a painting workshop, you can't go wrong, really, folks. And I'm loving them. I'm naturally a teacher, you know. I've been teaching art since the late 90s, and I just love it. And this has given me a chance to do something during the lockdown, so it's been really good. So morning to everybody. Keep asking questions. And someone's asking me what colours are we using on the workshop on Sunday, this workshop here. Primary colours, basically. So if you've got three colours, if you've got a red, yellow and a blue of some kind, then you've pretty much cracked it, to be honest. So it doesn't really matter which one. These are the three I use. These are my own personal colours. We've got natural red, natural yellow light. Make sure it's the light one, and natural blue. Now, if you've not got those colours, because these are my own colours, hello to James there. What we have here is my own blend of watercolour. But if you've not got these, you can use your own colours. You know, you can use three primary colours. You could use ultramarine blue, cobalt blue. You could use cadmium yellow, or you could use Aurelian or Gambonge. You could use crimson or rose madder as a red. You could use cadmium red. It doesn't really matter as long as you've got three colours, and that's what the workshops are all about. So I encourage anybody that thinks to themselves, I'd love to have a go at painting, but I don't know where to start. This live workshop is the place to be. This is a demo, folks. I'm going to get cracking with this. please feel free to watch this back at any time. It will be there for you to enjoy. Now, over the past few weeks, I've been painting quite a lot of springtime and summer scenes. So we've done things like cottages, we've done bluebells, we've done we did a nice painting yesterday for the members of Watercolour TV, and that was like a summer evening in Lindisfarne or Holy Island in Northumberland. We've done all sorts of nice summer and springy pictures, but today I want to do a winter scene. But I want to do a winter scene, a snow scene, but I want to make it nice and warm and nice and colourful for you. This is total escapism, folks, and this will not be like watching paint dry, because obviously, you know, it can be boring. I want to make it a little bit more light-hearted for you folks, and let's just enjoy it. Let's just enjoy this thing. Now, if you're new to watercolours, you're probably thinking, what's that weird stuff you can see there? Well, that is actually masking fluid. This is masking fluid that I popped on about half an hour ago, because masking fluid is a liquid latex. And liquid latex in watercolours is great, because what it does, it allows the paint to stay white, and white in watercolour, especially for a winter scene like this is going to be a warm, cosy winter scene. What we've got here, folks, is masking fluid, which is a coloured masking fluid, and I've popped this on first, and the places I've put it on is the across the top of the bridge and coming down on these two bankings that are just tucked away at the side there. Okay, so these are quite important areas in the picture to keep crisp and white. We'll talk about the different brushes, we'll talk about all of those different things that we can apply, all the different techniques, and stick with the picture, folks. It will grow on you, it'll improve as it goes through the next hour or so, and that's what it's all about, folks. A nice spontaneous watercolour demo. So first of all, just to mention a little bit about the materials, let's take a look down at the palette here. There it is, and we'll talk about colours and stuff. Okay, so this is my full range of watercolours here. You can check these out on the website Watercolour TV. I've spent the past 12 years or so blending these colours for you to enjoy. So what we've got here is various colours, and some of these I'm going to use and some of them I'm not going to use. These are all based around tubes, so it's tube watercolour. So we've got here the tubes. This one is natural grey. This one's the most popular of all the colours, and some of the people watching will know what I'm talking about here. So a question from Fiona: is the workshop okay for beginners? That's exactly what this is aimed at, folks. The workshops, these workshops are for people that want to learn. Okay, these workshops just here, 26th of April. Now, here's a common question people keep asking me, and I'll just mention this before we move on. People's asking me, they're saying things like, I want to do this workshop, but 10 AM UK time is something like 3 o'clock in the morning for me, or whatever time it is where you are. Don't worry, because as part of this, the link you get sent, the private link you get sent to view these workshops, you can view it back as much as you like, okay? And you will create a watercolour picture. That is a guarantee. Through the 4 hours of the workshop here, I'm just going to quickly show you the last 4 pictures that we've done on the past 4 live workshops. Okay, basically we did this one last week, this summer cottage. This was all done, almost no sketching, just a couple of pencil lines here and we was away. The previous workshop was this bluebell wood. This bluebell wood here was done, and of course bluebells are out in force. This was the first one we did, which was the gorgeous sunset picture as well. And then a couple of weeks back we did this wonderful Welsh castle. This is a place called Harlech Seascape. So a nice variation. This Sunday's live workshop is based on a moonlit night. We're talking looking out into distant Venice with the light reflecting in the streets, folks. It's going to be a lovely thing to do, and I'm loving them, and yous are all getting these things all booked up, so please have a little think about that before you go. So back to colours. Natural grey, we're going to squirt this into the palette here. So we've got some natural grey here. It's a shadow colour made from primary colours. For the workshop on Sunday, all you need is just 3 colours. All right, we've got some blue, we've got some natural blue, there's plenty of that there. Natural violet's always going to be a good colour for a winter scene, so We're going to be using some natural violet as well, so I'll pop some natural violet just here. Probably my favourite colour actually. These two on the corner, these are skin tones. These are lovely colours for winter scenes. I want to use these. So let's take some light skin. We've also got dark skin. We'll get that popping out in a minute or two. Where are we? Dark skin, rummaging around here. The back of my easel is all sorts of random things. Years worth of stock of paints and things going off here. So we've got some dark skin here. We'll give this a bit of a squirt in the palette. There's dark skin. It's like a sort of rusty brown colour. We've also got natural brown, which is an even darker version. Okay. Other colours I may decide to use in this picture would be natural yellow, this kind of sandstone colour here. We've also got natural orange that we may decide to use a little bit later on. But we're going to go for a late autumn, early winter landscape with a nice bridge popped in the middle. Let's just come back up here and take a look at the picture. We're ready for action now, folks. Let's chuck some paint on this thing. Various brushes. All I'm interested in at this particular stage is the background, okay? So all I want to do is work on the background here, folks. I'm not going to do anything with the foreground. I'm just working across. Joseph's got a problem trying to register for the workshop. But I'll tell you what to do, Joseph. If you want to, you can always give us a call at the end of this thing, or you can drop me an email, okay? Matt Artist, this is my email address, folks. Matt Artist, 2 T's, at me.com. mattartist@me.com. Or you can set up a new account on Watercolour TV with a new password and a new email address, okay? So if you're having problems getting in and booking the workshop, it's probably because you forgot your password or something like that. It does happen from sort of time to time with people. Okay, so brushes, lots of different brushes to work with. I'll talk through the brushes as we go through the picture. Got the water. The first brush is going to be a big one. This is a size 20 brush here. This is quite a large brush. Okay, a 16 or a 20 is going to be good. Andrea's asking if you can watch this one back. Yes, you can, Andrea. So this demo will always be on YouTube as long as YouTube is around. You can watch this. Okay, this is for everybody to enjoy this picture today. So it's better than watching the news, yeah. So I'm gonna put the water on. I'm gonna wet the top section again. Just remember this is a demo, folks. So we're cracking on pretty quickly with this. We're gonna work his way through, and we're gonna pop the water all the way down to that masking tape. Now please remember this is a cotton paper. This is my own brand of paper, it's cotton. Cotton paper means it stays wet a little bit longer than maybe some of the other papers. But another thing to think about with cotton based paper is it absorbs the water very, very quickly. So it needs a couple of coats of water. The plus side of this is it stays wetter longer, which is a great thing. So bear that in mind. So plenty of water going on to start with. A nice coverage. There you go. Can't go wrong with that. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to take some of the light skin tone. And we're going to pop this in the centre, okay? I'm going to mix this around here. I love this colour. I'm going to work it around here for distant trees. Bit of warmth in the sky. If you watched the demo yesterday that I did for the members of Watercolour TV, then you'll remember that I used these colours there. I'm going to work this around the side as well for these trees. Bit of an autumnal tinge going off to this, folks, which I want to maintain running through. So a nice kind of soft wintry background, a little bit of mist, a bit of out of focus. Bear with it, folks, it'll grow on you, especially because there's trees on it. Let's work this thing around here. Watch out for this water gathering around the sides here. So if you look at the palette, you see I'm taking it nice and thick from the blob. It's also good to get a stash of this stuff, kitchen paper. Sometimes your paintings come out like while you start crying. So it's good to wipe up the tears. So a bit of a twist happening here, look, working around the sides. Nice and rich for the colour. Not being afraid to use good strong colour here. Can't go wrong with this. Misty, atmospheric background. I'm just going to wipe that on some tissue because I've got some water gathering, so I'm just going to mop that up. There we go. And then we're going to change colours. I'm going to clean the brush, folks. We're going to now go for some of that violet that I mentioned. I love natural violet. It's one of my favourite colours. It's nice for winter. It's also nice in a sky. It gives like an evening sort of atmosphere, and I love this. It gives a nice warmth. And when it mixes with the skin, it kind of goes a bit grey, which is good for shadows as well. So if I work some of this around the back of the bridge here, it's going to make it look all nice and misty and slightly out of focus. We can work this into the trees. I'm basically mixing. I'm making a mess. If you've just tuned in, it looks like a dog's dinner at the minute. So if you don't have these colours, you could use any violet. If you've not got the skin tone, use some kind of an orange colour. So you could mix like a sort of red and a yellow. And if you pop a touch of blue, you'll get a similar colour to this. So don't worry too much if you've not got these colours. I'm just using this because it's a demo. I'm pretty much just going to use anything that's in my palette, really. So I'm just going to work this through. Nice twisty, nice bit of softness going off here. So I'm working the violet over the top of these colours here, wiping this on the side, making sure there's no build up here. Like I say, folks, workshop's very different. I will hold your hand through every brushstroke. This is whizzing through. This is whizzing through. Okay. Let's now go for dark skin tone. Bring some of that into play. This is like a bit of a rusty kind of colour, so we'll work that in. Again, it's all part of the effect of these trees I'm interested in here. So I'm working this in, bringing it right down, right into the corners. So a nice bit of a woodland on the side. I'm basically putting the brush flat to the paper and twisting here, but the paper is still nice and wet, which is exactly what it's all about. Okay, so a nice bit of a twist going through. So I want to maintain this mist in the centre. Now if you're asking me questions at the minute, folks, I can't answer them just yet because I'm focusing on this, but I will once I've put this in. Have a look at some of the comments. Now I want to bring grey into play, natural grey being the shadow colour. I don't want to put a huge amount of that in, but I do want to get some darkness. So I want to bring some shadow colour into this. Now this masking fluid is acting as a lovely barrier, and that can also go along the top of the bridge as well. So I want to work that through here, this side as well, getting plenty of darkness around the base of these things. So I'm basically mixing on the paper here, which is what I like to do with my watercolour painting. If I dry it off, I can encourage the paint to move a little bit. It's all part of the effect of these things. I'm just going to watch out for too much colour over the bridge. And I make sure there's plenty of colour around the back of this bridge, because I want to, obviously, with it being a winter scene, I want to maintain some snow on the top of the bridge here. So already for a snow scene, it's pretty colourful, yeah? It's interesting when you teach full days and groups, workshops and various things, which is basically what I spend my week doing. My life is travelling the UK, teaching basically, holidays, workshops, and of course everything's on hold at the minute. It's interesting because people do the first piece, which is always very messy, but then as you get towards the end of the picture, that's when things start to make more sense. And that's exactly what I try and encourage people to do, is always finish the picture off. Seriously, that is the most important part of a picture, is seeing it through. And it's probably the hardest bit for people, is not giving up at this first stage, because this first stage is very splodgy and very blobby. It's got all these weird stripy, squirty lines everywhere, but it's not until you finish the picture that it actually looks like something. And it's only people that have been painting for a while that kind of get that, I think. So for those that are doing the workshop on Sunday, make sure you stick with it. Let's change brushes. Let's go for one of my tree and texture brushes. Let's get a bit closer into this thing as well. We've got beautiful warmth coming through there. This is the extra large tree and texture brush here, Matthew Palmer tree and texture brush. This is the biggest one. It's a lovely brush. It also is good for doing fancy dress parties. You can do a bit of a Charlie Chaplin. Nice clean brush. Squeeze out the excess. So it's a bit damp. I'm going to take some of that dark skin. We're going to mix it into the brush. I'm going to give it just a little bit of a rusty kind of brown colour, and we're going to stipple some gentle taps over these misty trees here. So basically, think of, we're talking November time, well, November in the UK that is, we're talking late autumn, the last few leaves are there, they've just gone rusty browns, and we're going to stipple these beautiful individual leaves of these trees. With a single tap of that brush, you get that wonderful splayed effect. You can see in them. All the products are available to buy, and we are shipping. Everything's available from Watercolour TV, folks. If you like any of the stuff, the colours, the brushes, you can get them all on the website, okay? And we do ship worldwide, taking a little bit longer than it would normally take at the minute, but that's nothing to do with us. That's all down to the postal service. Everybody's working that little bit harder at the minute for obvious reasons. So we pop in little taps and little stipples on. Now I want to bring in some of the dark colours here, so I'm adding some grey to that mix. Okay, just to make things a little bit darker around some of these side pieces. Now very shortly we're going to be popping some trees on. Branches and trunks, that kind of thing. So making sure that this has got this wonderful texture both sides. Paper's still wet. This is a great advert for a nice paper, folks. It's always the one thing to get right, you know, in watercolours, is invest in a good quality paper. For the people that want to know what this is, it's my own brand of paper. So if you go on the website Watercolour TV and I look under the art shop, you'll see the paper and you'll see it's a Matthew Palmer watercolour paper. Very gentle taps towards the edge. I don't want to do anything in the centre because I love that distance. We're going to keep that. What I'm going to do now is grab a plastic card and put some trees on. Now you've probably seen me do this before, but we'll give it another whirl. I'll start on this side here. I'm going to take the plastic card and I'm going to pop this on. Again, I've not forgot that you're asking me questions, but I'm just working while this thing is damp, folks, so bear with me. I'm going to press it flat and we're going to go straight up and we're going to ease off the pressure. And that's the first part of the tree. Wipe off the corner, do some more of these. Now I'm sure you've seen me do this before because I've painted a few woodlands recently for you, and you've seen me do lots of this kind of thing here. So it's just using a plastic card. This is actually a hotel room key card from a few years ago, I believe. Don't know how it came home with me, but there you go. Beautiful. So you can see that gorgeous tree there, and I can put some bits at the side again, even if it's just a flick. And as you go up with your brush. Now all these techniques are what you'll learn, and if this was the workshop, again, I know I keep talking about this, but I'm really keen to promote these, folks, because these are things that it's getting you guys painting as well, which I'm sure that some of you have wanted to do. There's never been a finer time to do it, really. Look how nice they are. Now let's swing over to this side here and pop some over here. Now obviously this is ideally done while the paper is just about to dry. So if your paper is a bit dry, you could always paint in darker trees with some browns and greys, that kind of thing. So don't worry too much. If you don't quite get it first time, don't give up on this. But it really works nice, don't it? But it's all to do with timing. Pop a few little bits at the back here, but really, I don't want to do much at the back. What's more important to me here is keeping the middle misty and focusing on the two sides. But what a difference that makes, and hopefully you can see that for yourself as well. It always looks lovely, and those colours are just absolutely gorgeous. I love the skin tones and everything like that, folks, but that's the starting point of that watercolour. Let's just come back a couple of spots there, we can see it there, beautiful. Loving this skin tone. The skin tones are actually opaque as well. There's only a few colours in my range that are actually opaque, and you can kind of see on the side of the tube. I don't know whether you can actually see that, depends if you're looking at this on big screen or not, but it says they're opaque. Now what that means is that you put the paint on, and it looks a bit darker maybe, but then when it dries, all that gorgeous light shines through. That's what opaque watercolour is. It's not about It's not about painting over the top of another colour. That's not what that means. What it means is that it'll shine forward against the background, and that is what opaque watercolour is. And that's the light skin tone, the violet here, and of course we put the grey. Now, while that's having a few seconds to soak in, we're going to come down here and we're going to paint in the water in a couple of minutes. Okay, so we're going to use the same colours in the water. Let's have a look at some of these questions, folks. Okay, how do you make the initial highlight? Do you mean the masking fluid here? Is that what you mean? That was created with liquid latex, and masking fluid was used, which is this stuff here. This is a coloured one, but you can get all different variations of masking fluid. You can get a yellow one, you can get a clear one. And I painted this on with a normal paintbrush, but being careful not to leave it on the brush for too long, because it's quite easy to let this thing actually ruin brushes, because it basically, it's the same. It's kind of similar to fake skin. If you think of Halloween time, think of fake skin. It's a similar thing to that, but it's not the same. But it's similar. It kind of turns to rubber, and that's how I kept this thing nice and crisp at the bottom. Okay, you could put masking tape on there if you wanted to as well. So masking tape would work. And when we did the workshop last weekend, the virtual workshop, it was this one here that we did, the cottage. And what we did here is we put masking tape along the edge of here to keep it white, because the white is the paper. We don't need white in watercolours, we just use the paper, and that's what it's all about, yeah? Hopefully that makes sense, folks. Okay. Just having a quick scan through, folks. If you've got any more questions, just pop them in the comments. Okay, I'm sort of with you now. I'm with you. But I want to paint in the water, because there's going to be a little river that kind of comes through here. So I'm going to put that in now. For this, I'm going to use a same brush, the big brush actually, but I want to use the same colours because I want balance to the picture. So I'm going to pop this down here. That's going to give that time to dry. Okay. Now I shall put some extra work over the top of the trees, but we'll get to that. So I want to bring the same colours into here for balance, for reflection, that kind of thing. So I've got a size 20 brush, a nice big brush here. Clean it. Now for this, I'm actually going to go straight in. I'm not going to wet it first. I'm going to go straight in here, okay? And I want to start off with the grey actually. So I want to put grey, natural grey. It's a mixture of primary colours is natural grey. Watch out for using Payne's grey, because that's Payne's grey here, which is very black, and this is natural grey. Can you see how this one falls back? This is a much better colour. It's mixed from primary colours, red, yellow and blue, so it's a mixture of primaries, and that's important to mention as well. Okay, so we'll start with the grey. I'm going to work along the edge of the bridge here, natural grey. Now I'm being a little bit cautious around the background, but there's going to be a little bit of snow going to creep in here, but I really do want a dark edge. Stick with me, folks, this will grow on you. So working around, I want to work into these little V shapes over here. I'm going to bring the snow right down. I love snow. I'll say to you, is my favourite subject. Not cold, depressing, we're talking warm colours here, okay? So I do really thoroughly enjoy painting snow. It is without a doubt one of my favourite subjects. Clean brush. Let's go for the skin tones now. So I want to use the dark skin tone now. I'm going to bring that out from the grey, working pretty quickly because I want this all to blend in. So we'll get the skin tones coming through here. So I'm making sure that everything's blending in. Getting all this to run. Looks a bit of a bugger, don't it? That's a good English word, isn't it? That's a good British word, that bugger. I like it. Very useful. Let's get some light skin tone. Pop it in the middle. Now again, these colours will shine through lovely once this thing's had a bit of time to soak in. Making sure that everything's blending. Making sure I'm going right into these bits here. So I'm dragging the grey so it's connecting with that middle piece. Okay, now this will look more like water later. Just the background at this point. I'm going to use water here to soften It's like watching paint dry, isn't it? Let's just squeeze this through the fingers here. Let's soften this in. Let's take out some light. Let's drag some colour. So basically I've sort of squashed the brush flat a little bit here, and I can drag it across the paper a little bit. And that'll put some light, because I want to keep some light in the middle where the sky is. Now, normally when I do these kind of winter scenes, and I do a lot, like I say, it's my favourite subject, I do a lot of demonstrations at art groups. I visit groups around the UK and I do talks, okay? And there's normally, someone will normally say to me, why have you not put any violet in? Because you've got violet in your sky. Well, if anyone's thinking that, I've got a bit of violet here. I'm going to pop it just there. There it is. That violet will do the job. Doesn't really want any violet because the violet's going to feature in the snow. But a little hint of it, it's all we need, folks. We're not interested in violet here. If you look at a winter stream or river, it's very dark against the snow, and it's all about contrast. So I'm making sure that the grey is blending in, it's moving across, smoothing this out, laying the brush flat, wiping it across, maintaining these colours. Now, more work will be added, trust me, I'm an artist, to the water a little bit later on, but that's just the starting point. So at the minute, we have balance. We have balance to the picture. We've got the colours here, here, and that makes sense to me. The snow, the bridge, and the detail will come a little bit later, all right? You can't go wrong. Now, right in these corners where the snow kind of goes into the water, where the little sort of areas meet the edge, let's say, so just kind of here, I'm just going to basically drag a little bit of the paint into the snow, just a touch, a slither, background as well up here, little tiny little specks of detail kicking through there. Doesn't want too much really, just a little bit, tiny spot, tiny spot. So Lorna's asking how much water is on the brush. Not as much as you think, Lorna. What I do is I kind of wipe off the excess on the side like this before I do the colours. Again, as we go through the workshop on Sunday, we'll obviously talk about that in detail as I would do normally, okay? So it doesn't want a huge amount of water, alright? At the minute, it's just grey, but on the tissue, so it's what we call the dry brush, and that lets me go into these little corners and just sort of soften the edge a little bit, and it just helps it to sit down in the picture. I always feel that on these kind of wintry streams. Now at that particular stage, if we come back a step here, folks, we zoom back a touch here, at that stage, that needs a little bit of time to actually dry. So what I want to do now is I want to use a hair dryer to give it a blast. So apologies for the noise. And while that's drying off, you can entertain yourselves by looking at some of my other pictures. So let's have a look. We've got a oh, there you go. We've got a nice Lake District landscape. There you go. Let's have a look at that. Let's give it a blast. It's also a good time to get yourself booked in for this as well. Don't forget, folks, the last few spaces. Now's the time for you to get started with painting, and that workshop on Sunday. Never been a better time. Now, if you're bored with that picture, let's do a swap around, shall we? Let's swap the summer for the winter. There you go. There's a nice wintry scene for you. Look at the gorgeous warmth coming through there. So a couple more questions. Yeah, that's becoming my catchphrase, Chris and Joseph. Trust me, I'm an artist. I don't know where that came from actually. Just kind of played one day. A few questions. James, is that a new palette? Yes, it is a new-ish palette, new as of last year. So if you go onto the website, I can pop a link into the description for the art shop. So for those people, or in the comments even, so if you want to check out the art shop, the palette will be in there. Another question, how do I book the workshop on Sunday? Okay, so here's the link. I'm going to pop it in the comments. There's the details, all the info that you would like. Joseph, save me a place for Sunday. I'll email afterwards. No problem, Joseph. You get in touch. Drop me an email. I'll send a reply with my phone number. You can give me a call and we can book it. Or we can set up a new account. No problem. Just a touch more drying time. A question that's coming from Vero, are your workshops watercolour TV? So the live watercolour workshops are on Watercolour TV and they're exclusive to me, and they're their own thing, nothing to do with the SIA folks. They are me and they are here. So if you want to get into them, book in. Watercolour TV, which is the little sort of logo here, that is the video on demand service that has been around. I set this thing up about crikey, how long ago did I set this thing up, Watercolour TV? 12 years ago. So there's 12 years worth of watercolour step-by-step tuition here, and you can become a member of Watercolour TV, and you can sign up for a year, for a month. At the minute you get a free 30-day trial. Okay, a free 30-day trial. Okay, but it's all me, it's all my style of painting. So anything that is me is on here. This is my little baby. I've put so much blood, sweat and tears into this, it's unbelievable. New stuff added weekly, 2 or 3 videos a week added to this at the minute. Okay, the workshop is its own item. Okay, this is what it's all about, folks. Okay. Okay, so let's now take a look, folks. That's all nice and dry, which is wonderful. Now what I want to do here is I want to take off the masking fluid just using my finger and rub it off. And over here as well, of course. So it's just rubbing the fluid off, basically, leaving a crisp white edge. Make sure it's all off. If you sort of feel it, you can feel the bits that are still stuck to your paper. It comes off pretty easily. You can use a rubber or an eraser, but the problem with that is it can take the pencil off. So we're trying to avoid that. Beautiful. Now, my next stage is to work in the shadows on the snow, and this is where things get a little bit alive. So over here, nice comment that's just come through from Betsy. She's saying that Watercolour TV is a little guilty pleasure. It's basically it's the watercolour video on demand. It's Netflix for watercolour painters. It really is, folks. Please have a good look at it. It's the original art video on demand. Lots of people do them now, but I mean, mine was there first. 12 years ago, that sort of thing really wasn't the thing, was it? You know, so it's the original and the best. Trust me, I'm an artist. Let's get close into this thing. Let's build up some shadows in the snow using probably my favourite colour, which is going to be natural violet. And we can take it just using the water that's on the brush. There it is. Beautiful natural violet. Love this colour. If you want to mix this colour yourself, you can use a blue and a red. You won't get the same richness, but it's okay. It's lovely for bluebells as well. Of course, bluebells in the UK are just coming out now. I am planning, and I'll say this to you now, very close to where we live in Derbyshire is a spot called Robin Hood's Grave. I think every town in Derbyshire and Yorkshire and Nottinghamshire's got one of those. It's the place where his arrow is supposed to have dropped, apparently, where he's buried in these woods. And it's such a private little spot, and it's a bit of a secret, but it's such a beautiful place, it's a mass of bluebells, and I'm planning to film a watercolour painting up there next week for you guys. That will be for members of Watercolour TV. Okay, we'll not do a live broadcast because there's no internet up there, as you can probably imagine. Okay, right, so basically natural violet is a gorgeous colour for putting the shadows in the snow, and this will bring this thing alive. Okay, so I'm working this in, and I can pop a couple in at a time, but not too many, because too many, and if the violet dries, we'll struggle to blend it away. Clean brush, give it 2 or 3 wipes on the tissue, then use the water to basically soften, blend, drag the paint away towards the top. Okay, so I'm basically smoothing the colour out until it disappears. Blending is what I'm doing here, folks, and you can see already we've got a couple of sort of hillocks. Can we say hillocks? And get away with it. Here as well. Let's pop some little bits coming from the edge as well. Clean brush, 3 or 4 taps on the tissue. Smooth that paint upwards, work it into this lovely soft cotton paper, and it just allows the paint to move and blend. You can't go wrong with this. Let's put some little bits down here as well. Clean brush on the tissue. Continue to soften these in, and this is going to make it look like a 3-dimensional sort of banking area. You can see it happening hopefully, and of course we can bring this right down towards the base of the picture. So pop little bits just here as well, pop a little bit down at the bottom there in the corner. Clean brush, a few taps. Spread that paint out, make it become part of the picture. What could possibly go wrong, eh? There we go. More water, more tissue. A question came in a few minutes ago asking about this picture here. The one is there a video? Well, there's not a video, but it's in my book called Step-by-Step Guide to Watercolours by Matthew Palmer. So if you do a look on Amazon for that, you can get it on Amazon. We also sell it on the website as well. My great news, folks, my first book, Watercolour for the Absolute Beginner by Matthew Palmer, is actually a #1 bestseller on Amazon at the minute, which I'm so pleased about. It's been #1 in the art and craft section for about 3 or 4 months now. It's a bestseller, and that's called Watercolour for the Absolute Beginner, Matthew Palmer. This is the book I'm talking about, folks. This is the newer one, Matthew Palmer Step-by-Step Guide. Gorgeous picture of New York. Inside here there's 12 paintings, okay, for you to enjoy. All step-by-step poppy fields, and if I can whiz through and show you, that's the kind of waterfall scene that we've got. All step-by-step look. You can get these on Watercolour TV, get them on Amazon. Here we've got the boat there, the kind of seascape. But I'm working towards this one. Oh, I love the New York Central Park. Happy memories, New York, for me. Over here we've got, there's the scene. So if you want to have a go at this in step by step, it's all in this book, okay? And everything is broke down. And even inside the book, we've actually got the sketches, surprisingly. Can you see those? These are the outlines that you can trace. So if you're not a sketcher, you can trace. That's the step-by-step guide, Matthew Palmer Step-by-Step Guide to Watercolour Painting. That is available to you. The other one, like I say, sorry, it's me crashing into the board. Watercolour for the Absolute Beginner is also available, and it's available for you to pick up and enjoy. Let's come over this side here, and let's check out the shadows on this side, okay? Not so much shadows, more of kind of moulding the snow, getting the contrast, the shape, that kind of thing, making sure there's no masking fluid left in place. So working right in here with these little sort of shadows, working up to the edge. Clean the brush, every couple, clean the brush, give it a wipe on the tissue, and then basically soften these things out. I should mention, if anyone buys a book off the website, Watercolour TV, they are signed. Well, they should be signed. We've got a stock of signed books left, so let's just bring that in here as well. I'm not saying by this signed by who, but they are signed. Clean brush tissue, and then we'll do the soften, just as before. Blend that colour in. Surprising how it makes the snow look like snow, yeah? Can't go wrong over here as well, look. On this side, clean brush, tissue. Give it a good old soften. Beautiful. So if we look back at the picture now, it's starting to look a little bit on the three-dimensional side. The snow has got some oomph to it. Hopefully you can see that. There it is. Look at that, beautiful. Love that. Works every time. Always makes such a difference when you have a picture that's got this nice kind of softness and this nice shadow. It's the shadows that make these things actually work really well, and I'm loving these colours. Now just through the arch here we need to pop in a little bit of shadow. Just going to zoom in close. Thanks for sticking with us, folks. We're nearly at 300 viewers on this live stream, which is nice. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well if you're watching this on YouTube, and hit the notifications bell, because I plan to be doing lots and lots more of these for you to enjoy. So please make sure you do that. Let's come down here for the water. Let's put some movement in the water with the violet. So I'm going to use some of this on the tissue. I'm going to put some little horizontal lines, and we're going to bring the violet forward from the edge of the snow. I'm basically wafting these lines back over this side as well. Horizontal brush strokes. Nice and quickly painted when you do this. That's important to say that, because it's the movement that makes this thing actually work. Makes water look like it's flowing. Now I'll do more of this as the painting starts to dry. I'll do a touch more now. I want to go some natural grey, quite heavy. It's a mix of primary colours, but I've got it ready to go. So natural grey, all the colours are available, folks, online. So wherever you are in the world, it's available for you to enjoy. Now I'm putting some darkness right up to the edge here. Hopefully you can see that contrast. Let's get a little bit closer in for you there, because it's the contrast that makes a winter scene work more than anything. Bring that across here. Now I know I've not painted it in yet, but eventually we're going to have a reflection of the archway, so I'll pop that in now while I'm in this mode. As long as it's made up of horizontal lines, it's going to work well. Let it become part of all this, okay? That will happen later. We'll see that more as the picture progresses over this side as well. Horizontal lines. Especially from those edges, it really helps the contrast of the winter scene stand forward. Now another thing you can do is to make water reflect a little bit, and we can do that by using the same colour but with a pinched brush. This one's a size 10 brush, by the way, I'm using here. This kind of, you could use a fan brush for this. If anyone's got a fan brush, they work as well. With this kind of nice kind of splayed brush. So a question that's come through about paint. Do I add fresh paint every time? I don't always add fresh paint. But because I'm painting, you know, 3 or 4 times a week, I don't need to. But if your paint goes dry, don't scrape it out. Leave it in there and just top it up with a little dot of water or something. But if you pop see that colour, that orange is a bit dry here. But if I put some water, leave it 10 minutes, that'll be soft again. So watercolour never really goes off. You can use paint for a long time afterwards. There's a comment come through saying they've not received the order yet. Post is so slow at the minute, okay? Everything is being sent out to you, folks, I promise you. Everything is out there. We are working as much as we can for getting orders out. It's not just me, although there was an interesting phone call a few days ago from someone. They were saying, well, how come your orders are taking 3 or 4 days, but I can order from the likes of Amazon and other places and it gets to you quicker? Well, Amazon have got their own fleet of delivery drivers. But even they're taking time, aren't they, with things, you know? So we are sending stuff out, folks. It is getting out. Stock is there for you if you want it. But it's just a little bit longer than it would normally take. I love to see that downward drop in water. Always works so nice. Creates depth. Beautiful. Like that. Now we can add some reflection of the snow to the water, and the way we do this is we would use a craft knife actually, and you've probably seen me do this before. Very sharp knife here. I want to get close in for this. So you've obviously got the water, the white water, sorry, the white snow. So I could use this craft knife here and I could scrape off some white. And it sort of reflects the snow, but it also puts light in the water at the same time. Over here as well. There we go. Over here. Horizontal being the secret. It's really effective on a snow scene because it's capturing the reflection, okay? And it's a hard stroke to capture. Beginners have palpitations about doing that. But I've been doing that for a long time. I've been teaching that for a long time, and look how effective it is. If you try and paint that or use masking fluid to create it, you can't do it. So how do you mix the skin tones without using skin tones? Well, fairly hard colours to replicate because of the opacity of them, okay? But a similar peachy colour is an orange with a touch of blue. So mix an orange, put a tiny bit of blue with it, and you'll get a similar light skin. Dark skin's kind of brownish, so you'd mix an orange and put more blue in it. But you wouldn't get exactly the same colour, but a similar colour would do you, okay? How wet is the paint? It's dry on the paper now, and you can see I'm not a wet painter by any means, okay? So there's not a huge amount of water. If you're watching this back, I'm just answering the questions that people have been asking in the comments, alright? Beautiful. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now, members of Watercolour TV will get a version of this painting, a slightly improved, edited version, let's say, okay, with extra graphics and everything. So that's another thing that you will get. If you remember this picture will live on Watercolour TV as well as YouTube, but you'll get a sort of streamlined version. We have the scene, we have the trees, we have the water, we now need the bridge, and we need those wonderful bits of detail that always make the biggest impact on a scene. Just walking back and taking a look at this thing from a distance, and I'm loving the colours that we've created. So it's now time for detail. Let's get close in. Let's look at the bridge. I'll pop a wash of colour on the bridge first of all, and then I'm going to work some bushes and trees around it to bring it into focus, get the shadows, get the texture, get the old stone bridge. Now for this I want to use the size 10 brush again, and I want to keep a white edge for the snow, okay? So I've got a size 10. Now as far as the colour, I'm using a sandstone colour. Now this particular one is called Matthew Palmer's Natural Yellow. You could use that colour. It's a lovely kind of brick sand colour. You could use raw sienna with a bit of blue, or yellow ochre with a bit of blue if you've not got that colour yourself. Any of these colours I've got hanging around here, I could also bring into play. Like this grey, I just popped a bit of grey and the yellow together there, and it will all become part of the picture. Now I want to leave some snow, as we mentioned, not a huge amount, but I want to get a little bit, as though it's catching across that top edge, as I'm sure you can see. And I can alternate and I can work in other colours, and I'm literally just sort of dabbing in whatever's in the palette. I'll even put some of the skin tone in as well, because it's a nice one to work into the picture. This painting here is a nice example of skin tones. This is a lesson on Watercolour TV if you like this one, but this is using all skin tones. It's a scene of Rome, look. So this is light skin, this is dark skin here. Look at the light skin that goes into the silhouette there to create that warmth, and that's because it's got the opacity to it, so that's a nice one. So for those that are members of Watercolour TV, yeah, it's there for you as a lesson. It's on there so you can enjoy it. Marvellous. Okay, so just working across and basically filling in. Now I'll be adding more and more detail to the bridge course as I progress through the picture. Now a common thing that sometimes people forget to do on something like a bridge is to paint over the top of the underneath of it first, because it needs the base colour. It's important that you put the base colour in and then you make it darker later. That's an important little thing to mention to you. Okay, so I'm going to work this back into the trees very loosely, bring it over the arch, over the dark side, and it'll sort of disappear somewhere into these trees. Now I want to put some detail, some brickwork, some shadows, some highlights. It'll happen. Are you making it up as you go along? How did you guess? You know, this is the way I like to paint basically. I get so much pleasure out of starting off. I mean, literally 10 minutes before I went live, I didn't know what I was painting, and I get so much pleasure out of starting off with a white piece of paper and just going for it, and that is where I get pleasure from. I do paint from photograph, I paint from life, but I love doing this kind of work thoroughly. And if you've never done it before, folks, work from imagination is a big thing for me, really is. There's a UK TV channel called Hochando. I think it's also in the States as well. It's a craft channel on TV, and I do a lot of work for them. I do lots of live TV shows, and we do a painting on those shows every episode. Okay, and I don't know what I'm painting until we go live, and that's just, for me, is just, you know, it's just part of the thrill of it. It is. It's something that comes from confidence. You know, I've always been quite lucky that I've got a bit of a, can we say, a photographic imagination. I've always had memory for items I've painted since I was 9 years old in watercolours, you know, and I'm in the 4.0s now, so I've been painting quite a while, and it's one of those things that I've just kind of, you know, sort of evolved with. And this, for me, I get a lot of pleasure from this. I get a lot of pleasure. Let's reflect the bridge. So I'm using the yellow, natural yellow. I'm going to pop that in the water. Now this is going to go over the top of what's already there, of course it is. So I've made the colour a little bit richer, but it will dry and become part of the picture. Horizontal lines. Making up the archway. Can we see that nice? So it's capturing the reflection. It's subtle with a silent B, but it's there. And it works, don't it? It's just enough to say it's reflecting, and of course in combination with this, we've not put the darkness in yet, but we'll get to that. Okay, that needs a few seconds to soak in, and what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll put the shadows in. But while that's drying off, I want to put some bushes and shrubs around. Let's take a look back at the whole picture for a few seconds. Let's just see the whole scene from a bit of a distance there, folks. Look at that, beautiful, loving that, loving it. Just looking at some of the comments and the questions, folks. So, Joseph has said, it's generous of me to tell you how to mix the colours. You can't perfectly replicate the natural colours because they are special pigments and ingredients that make up these pictures, make up this range of colours, but you can get close to them, you know. So you'll never get the skin tones like that, but you can mix oranges and browns. It'll be a bit different, but it'll work as a picture. But if you want these colours and you want this vibrancy, then get yourself these colours. There's a painting here of a lighthouse here. Can we see this lighthouse? It's on an angle, but we can see it. And this is actually the skin tones are used here in the sky. Can you see that nice? It just shines out above the painting. I love the skin tones, and this is the dark skin tone on the roof here as well. So really nice, and a nice bit of atmosphere it'll create on a picture. Beautiful. So let's now come back to this area here, and let's start to bring in some trees, bushes and shrubs. Now what I've got hanging around here, folks, is the rest of the tree and texture brushes. Now we've been talking about these throughout all the demos we've been doing. These are the original tree and texture brushes that I designed in 1999, believe it or not. So these go back quite a while. These particular ones, these three are the original ones here. So we've got the small one, the medium and the large. So these are the Matthew Palmer tree and texture brushes. Again, everything's available online here. That was the new edition that came out about 6 or 7 years ago. That's the extra large one that we use for this. Now you can buy those three in a set, you can buy that one on its own, okay? Again, everything's available on Watercolour TV. The smaller one is great for bushes and shrubs. I'm going to use it on this picture. So I'm going to pop this brush here. I'm going to get close to these edges. I'm going to paint in some distance and depth. So I'm going to clean the brush out. I'm using dark skin and grey together, so it makes this kind of dark, rich contrast colour. But that opacity almost puts a pastel tinge over the colour, so it's like a warm grey. I want to stipple the brush. Give it a good old stipple, alright? So it's all nice and spiky. Now I want to use a rough piece of paper here because I want a bit of a rough edge, so I've got this kind of ripped piece of paper. I'm going to pop that just sort of here on that edge, and I want to stipple. Let's get nice and close in so you can see what we're doing here. It's a good idea to test this, but it's basically a tiny version of what we did here. But can you see it's creating like a line of bushes? I can move this along as I work around the picture. Make sure we go down into the snow a little bit as well. And we can take this right along the bridge, almost in front of the bridge, right down to the snow, to the edge. So again, folks, if you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit subscribe, because I've got quite a lot of paintings on the channel and there's new stuff going on weekly, so please do hang around for that, and make sure you hit the notifications as well. Now I can blend these in by doing light stipples up towards the top. So I'm working a bit higher, but can you see it's made more of a contrast? Now if we come down to this area here, we can put some little bushes poking out of the snow. So if I was to pop, say, something just here, do a little gentle tap, like little bits of winter foliage, the last little bits that are left off, you know, at the end of the autumn there. Little bits just poking out of the snow. If I turn the brush upside down, I'll show you what I mean. If I turn the brush upside down, like so, can you see the angle to the brush? I can use the tall hairs and paint little bits of tall grasses coming out of the snow. Works, don't it? A little bit over here as well. Can't go wrong with that, can you? What could possibly go wrong? Very gentle pressure. Now if he's painting a waterfall, can you see how you can get flowing water? Animal fur, that kind of thing. So that's why these are called tree and texture. But look at that area, folks. That put so much life into that area, don't you think? Compared to what it was. So if you compare that side, if you close your eyes and open them now, that's kind of before and after, you know, if you compare the two sides. Let's do a similar treatment over this side. Same colour, grey and dark skin. Again, you can see why I love painting the snow, the contrast, the warmth, the colour. Nice comment coming from Fiona saying she's hooked on the paintings that I'm doing, so thank you very much. I hope you're enjoying this, folks. I really do, because I'm enjoying doing it for you. Please stick with me till the end. We're getting there. It's better than watching the stuff on the TV, is it not? What we can do here is a similar treatment over here. Small tree, stipple, stipple. It's always interesting painting a snow scene in the summer or the spring, but I do love winter scenes. It's probably my #1 subject. That and seascapes and sunsets. I love those as subjects. There's something about snow, it's just so nice, but I like to make them warm, a warm coloured scene, not warm as in warmth. You know what I mean, don't you? Reds and gorgeous colours. So you see, I can stipple this, I can build this up, and I can work it over the top of the bridge, work it into the trees, and look how it pushes the bridge back, yeah? You can smell the excitement, can't you, eh? Let's come down here. Now, if you've just joined us, folks, we've been painting for about an hour, and we've created this wonderful winter scene here, and I hope you're enjoying watching it. And there's a bit of an ad at the bottom here promoting the live virtual workshop on the 26th. This is on Sunday. It starts at 10 AM UK time, but you can watch it back at any time, or you can start at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock and it will start from the beginning. It's £10 per person UK, which we've said is about $12. It's about $19 Australia, did we say? You can do the conversion for me. And if you want to get yourself booked, I'm going to pop the link again in the comments. The link is also in the description as well. We do have a cap on the amount of people, but there is a few spaces left, so it's a great time to get yourself booked in, folks. It's something you will enjoy. Just using 3 colours and 3 brushes, you'll create a wonderful moonlit night atmospheric watercolour scene. I promise you, you will enjoy every brush stroke, and I'm sure there's people that are in these comments here that have already done some of the live workshops, so please do let people know if you enjoyed them. So I'm going to stipple these in here. It's total escapism for me as well as you. Look how lovely that is, just there, that little bit just on the brow of that little hill. It just makes the thing look detailed. It really does add a difference to the painting. So I can pop as much or as little as this as I want in the picture. This is the small tree and texture brush, okay? Matthew Palmer tree and texture brush. Do a search. You can get them online at the website, which I've mentioned quite a few times. Is just here, and I've also mentioned that's the place to book this virtual workshop as well. We do have a few spaces left for Sunday. Once you've actually booked onto the workshop, you can. It's yours to keep in digital form, so you can watch it back even after it's live. Okay, so you don't have to watch it live if you can't do that particular time slot. Okay, so I'm just going to pop in a bit of a couple of little bit of extra stipples around here. Again, if you saw the previous side, you saw me do those. Let's get a bit close up here. You saw me do some grasses and various things. So if I was to pop this here, again, use the brush upside down and flick it out, you can get that wonderful impression of tall grasses growing out of the snow. Looks really nice, don't it, that? And if you look close, when I move the hand out of the way, if I move this to one side, you can see that nice little bit of grass poking through. What a difference that makes. It all adds to the picture. Yes, Shannon has asked if she can come back and watch it at any time. Absolutely. That's the big advantage of the virtual workshops. You can watch it live at 10 o'clock on Sunday UK time, or you can go back in a week, a year, 2 years, next week, next month, and it's yours to keep. You basically, once you've booked it, you get an email with a button that you press, and that's where it starts playing. And at the end of the workshop, you get another email with a copy of the finished picture and the button to watch back. You can watch this back as much as you like, folks, and that's the great thing, what I'm loving about these virtual painting workshops, okay? They are yours to enjoy, keep, and just practice on, you know? If anyone liked any of the previous workshops that we did, I'll just quickly mention that to you now, folks, while that's having a bit of a dry. Let's look back at the whole picture for a second, shall we? If anybody's wanting to watch a previous one, sorry to move in the camera there again. So this was the first one, this was the lake sunset. These were all virtual workshops. This was done like sort of 5 weeks ago. Here we did the cottage. That was the one from last weekend. This is the gorgeous seascape, the Welsh with the beach and the waves. And then we did this bluebell woodland picture here. So if you want to watch these back and you want to take part in these and actually follow them as though they were live, you can also book those as well, and you can buy them for a limited time. Okay, it's only going to be until the end of April is this one. So if you like the idea of just painting at any time, I'm just going to pop in the comments, this is the link where you can book the previous workshops if you like any of those particular subjects. Let's crack on. Let's get close in here again. I'm just going to pop a little bit of darkness into the bottom of this, folks. I'm going to add a bit more grey. If I sound a bit rusty with the voice, it's the hay fever. It's been quite bad for the past couple of days. I'm on the antihistamines, so if I fall asleep it's the antihistamines' fault, not mine. I'm just going to pop in a little bit of grey. So I'm just basically adding a bit of darkness, really. Not a lot, but just a touch, just a little bit of shadow to the base of some of these bushes and shrubs. It just helps to give that impression of depth, and it helps them to settle down. Make sure you wipe the card as you do this, because otherwise you can get a few problems where it sort of creeps down the back a little bit. So a little bit of shadow. Wonderful. Over this side as well. There we go. Takes the flatness out of it. Again, make sure you wipe the card there. So a couple of little stipples around here. Always going to help. Beautiful. And right on the corner there, put some darkness in. It just grounds it over here as well. And apologies for not seeing this, but I'm just doing the same at the bottom, just down there. Wonderful. Okay, so I've got bushes, shrubs, and depth. I've got some depth, so I'm happy with that. Let's take a look back at the picture. We can see what we've got there, folks. It's taking shape. I'm now going to work on the bridge for a little bit. I'm going to pop in some shadows in the bridge and around the water's edge. We're getting towards the end of this, folks. This is where the picture really makes a difference. Well done, paint with Coz or Coos. Apologies for the name. Got up at 4:14 New York time and attended the first workshop last Sunday. Simply awesome. I'm looking forward to the one this Sunday. Thank you. That's the kind of comments I'm liking. Beautiful. Let's get close into the bridge. And we're basically going to work our way round, and we're going to add some darkness, some brickwork. We're going to bring this thing out now, the bridge, get shadows in there. How are we doing, folks? Are we enjoying this? Is it good fun? Do you want to see more live workshops? Because I'm loving doing them. I really am. Now, every brush we've used so far has been quite large. We've used the big brush for the back, the 20, we used the 10 for here, we used the tree brush. I'm now working to small. This one is a 6. This is my kind of worker brush. This is a lovely brush for getting detail. And if you look at the brush, you can see it's quite pointy as well. It's got a nice point on it, which means I can get detail out of it if I want to. It's quite a new brush. That's why it's pointy. Yes, I am using the same water. This is the same water that I started with. You can probably see it's looking a bit like an abandoned river. Let's use some natural grey, and let's pop the darkness under the archway, which always makes a difference. Okay, now this goes right up here. I want to make it look a bit wavy. Give character to the bridge. I'm going to bring this right into the point, bring it over here, bring it right down, fill it in, and then clean my brush. Now, lots of people make the mistake of filling that in dark, too dark. Wipe off the excess. Get the water on it. Give it a soften. Now, while I've got that brush damp, I want to use it to spread some of these colours coming out from that archway to create the stones. Yeah? So, as long as I follow the clock face, and of course right in the centre you get the, is it the keystone? You call that one? I think you do. Works nice, don't it? Now if I do the same on this side, it's an awkward angle, so I want to turn the board upside down. So it's an Australian winter scene, is it? I noticed there was somebody viewing from Australia. We have a lot of members on the website from Australia, so watercolour's popular over there. And also America as well, lots of viewers in America on Watercolour TV. So I'm basically just flicking the colour, making sure it's all nice and crisp. And I want to pop in a couple of lines. I know I'm upside down here, folks, but you get the gist. I'm going to pop in some lines coming that way as well. And a little bit of an edge with the grey. Sorry, this is like upside down job now, isn't it? Can't go wrong, can you? Let's bring that in there. Bring that around the edge. Bit of water. I'm going to use water to spread that colour away from the stones and spread it into the bridge. Can you see it creates like an edge? And it's very random, and that's what it wants to be, okay? So over this side I'll do a similar thing as well. I'm thinking like these old rustic, I do lots of work in the Lake District on painting holidays. Have done for quite some years now, and you see lots of these random old bridges that have been there for hundreds of years, and you get these wonderful edges that are just very rustic looking and very random looking, dragging the paint away from them. Beautiful. That works. Let's turn this the right way, shall we? So if you look at it now, you can see the sky. If you look at it now, we can see how we're starting to get the bridge. It's missing stonework and a few shadows, so let's start to put that in, folks. I'm using the grey first of all. It's the same colour I've just been using for doing the shadows. And I'll pop a little bit of darkness actually underneath a few little bits where the snow is not everywhere, but a little bit of a random shadow. It just helps to make the snow look as though it's slightly embossed against the paper. So a little bit of a shadow. It's all about texture here, okay? So water on the brush and give it a smooth and a soften. It just helps it to stand out a little bit. And then I can just pop in some sort of darker stones and leave some spaces for lighter stones, that kind of thing. And of course this all nicely disappears into the tree line, which is great. And as many or as few as these as you like, really. It can be as fine or as clean or as crisp. Little Flicks, my favourite girl band. Little Flicks, love them. Over the side. Is that the cheap version of Little Mix, Little Flicks? So these little lines coming across. Bits of stonework. And also making sure that the reflection is quite dark in the water as well. Just on that corner there. So it really makes the water pop, you see. Can't go wrong, can you? Let's just get some grey over here as well. So I'm basically spotting over the top of these bushes now. I'm basically just using a bit of darkness, a bit of natural grey. Again, you can mix these from primary colours, but you'll not get the same grey every time. But it's okay, it's fine. So I'm dotting and spotting. And I can work this right over the top, from the edge over the top of the trees, easing the dots away as we go higher, so it becomes part of the foliage, you see. We're getting to that magic moment, folks, where we're starting to pull that real strength of colour into the picture, which is always the bit I enjoy most. So I'm basically jittering. You need to strap your paintbrush to a vibrating thing in your house, like an electric toothbrush, and let it go bzzz, and it'll just basically jitter and randomly spot around your picture. There we go. Pop a few little bits and bobs in there, it always works nice. I just popped a shadow at the back of the bridge there as well, just to continue it along. Can you see I've worked along into the background a touch? Just a little bit, just here. Bit of dry brush. If you're trying to work along on this picture, folks, again, please do treat this very much as a demonstration painting, which is a kind of watch and chill out kind of thing. The workshops, as I've said dozens of times, is the place if you want to work along with me, because I do thoroughly enjoy them. Taking time with them as well. What a difference that makes to this. It's all of a sudden part of the picture. Just going to pull in a few darker stones in the bridge. I'm just going to use the grey again, put some darker flicks in here. Just little horizontal flicks working into the bridge. Beautiful. Pottering really. And let's come over to the other side, because we can see we're starting to get that nice bit of detail there. Let's come over here and do a similar thing over this side. There we go. Again, using the grey, fairly strong, spotting around the edge here, working up into the trees, spotting and dotting. Randomly jittering again. And it's pushing all this mist back as well that we created in the first sort of 10 minutes of the painting, because that's all nice and flat, all nice and dry. That's another advantage of this paper. It's kind of pre-stretched for those people who know what that means. So you don't have to worry about stretching your paper too much. There we go. So you can bring as much or as little as you like of this. Now I could also pop little bits in the base of some of these grassy areas as well. There we go. It's quite effective actually doing that. And if I come back to the dark skin tone again, this sort of rusty brown colour here, there it is. I want to use some of this. I'm going to come back a couple of clicks. And we're going to do some dotting and some spotting. Around here. Zooming out a touch. So I'm basically sort of spotting around. So it's putting a little bit of extra leaf over the trees. It pushes the mistiness back, which is important of course. That's what it's all about. Similar thing over the opposite side as well. Just using just a bit of dark skin tone basically, and just sort of dotting in randomly. A few leaves here and there. Very spontaneously done here, folks, to be honest. Nothing too fancy with that at all. Just lots of little dots and dabs. Which is what it's all about, of course. Beautiful. Yeah, that's a good comment there, Paula. We do break for lunch. We have half-an-hour break on the live workshop, so if you do take part. Well, the great thing about them is you can rewind them, and you can pause them, you can resume, and you can skip forward and back, everything like that. During the live broadcast, you can actually pause it, and you can move back as much as you want to. So I'm basically putting lots of little dots, and that makes quite a difference putting those on. If we come back a few clicks, we can see what we've got here now, can't we? You can even have a glass of wine while you're painting, or two maybe. That makes a difference putting the dots on. Now down at the bottom of the picture here, we're going to darken around the edge. We're going to use a good strong bit of grey and some skin tone. And I just want to darken the edge of the snow. This makes a difference, it makes it stand out, okay? Now that only goes obviously in areas where you'd expect to see that darkness. Over this side as well. Bring the darkness into play. So I wouldn't do it here, because that's in a place where you wouldn't see any. There we go. We're getting there with this, folks, okay? My favourite part of the picture now, which is the nice little bit of detail that you always get in these watercolours. Popping some little sort of random little bits of detail around the foreground here, a few more little dots and dabs in these corners, which makes a difference. I'm just going to bring a few more ripples into the foreground of the water. Now if I want to be careful not to go over the top of the snow, if I pop a piece of paper there, of course, that'll control where the paint goes. At the same time make the water darker at the back. Beautiful. Works nice. So just adding a few little bits of extra reflections here, folks, to the bridge. If I was bringing in some darkness there, that'll sort of reflect where the stonework is. Making sure that's nicely dark around there, which works well. Can't go wrong, can you, eh? Roughing up some of these edges. This is basically grey and dark skin. And I'm basically going to make the brush go all nice and spiky. And I'm going to add some texture to the ground. Can you see that little bit of, let's get close in. Can you see that nice bit of texture on these edges? This is why we tend to use a textured paper, you see. This one's a knot surface, which is not rough and not smooth. But it's the sort of thing that makes quite a difference. That's the great thing, the comments just come through from Leslie saying that the muted colours in the sky and the trees work lovely. That's the thing about opaque watercolour, like what I'm using with the skin tones. The colours are muted, which you wouldn't think that, would you? You'd think that an opaque would be more vivid, but it's more of a pastel shade, which works exceptionally well. It just shines through. It really does. It's lovely colours to work with, and the skin tones are probably my favourite of all the colours. So a nice bit of texture on these edges in the snow. Nice bit of texture. Beautiful, beautiful way of working. Let's look at the snow that's on the bridge. I want to pop some shadows into those. I'm going to use the natural violet that we use for the snow in the foreground and pop in a little bit of that just to take away the harshness, and where it disappears into the trees we can pretty much darken it out so it just kind of gradually appears, and a little bit over that side as well, but not a huge amount of that, just a touch, just a little bit helps, just helps it to disappear off into the distance there. While I'm close in, I've got one of my lift out brushes here, lift out brush, which is a square brush. This is a lift out brush. This is the extra large one I'm using here. I'm using a dry piece of kitchen paper. I'm going to pop some highlights in the bridge, make it look a bit more, give it a bit more oomph. So basically using water you can scrub away some light, and then what you do is you take that tissue and you press it firmly, and it takes little bits of colour out on some of these corners. And even under the bridge as well, put some little horizontal lines coming back under the archway, give it a dab. You see it takes that colour out, so it's giving a bit more shape to it. So anywhere that you feel, lift out brushes are really nice for adding a bit of light around. It's basically a brush that's designed for washing colour out, you know, as simple as that really. See, I could extend where the snow goes into the bridge goes into the water, can you see? Just by washing a bit of light out. Same over here as well, I can really scrub that out. Get a nice bit of scrubbing going off. And it sort of helps to spread it a little bit, ease it in a bit, which is nice. I could pop a little bit of this in the water as well if I come back a touch here. Just going to pop in a bit of a highlight just coming down here to help the reflection. Can you see how it just put that little bit of light down there? It all helps, all makes a difference. So a question has just come from Julia asking which brush I use for the grass. It was the small Matthew Palmer Tree and Texture brush. Again, you can get them on the website Watercolour TV. So check it out, folks. Let's pop some reflection, some little horizontal reflections, ripples in the water. Wipe it out. Can't go wrong, eh? Beautiful. That makes such a difference. While I'm on the bridge, I'm going to take some of the dark skin colour. There it is, dark skin. We've been using it quite a lot in the picture. Just want to pop in a few little hints of that just to give a bit of warmth to the brickwork. Touch more. And a couple of lines coming down this way, working around the arch. It's not a strong colour. Put little bits and bobs scattered around, always works. I've got some violet left over here from a wee bit earlier. Now I've not really identified where the light's coming from, it doesn't really matter to be honest, but I think a little bit of shadow coming through these trees would be quite nice. So if you think of a light sort of coming over from the right of the picture, popping some little sort of cast shadows through these trees. There you go, so you get a bit of light coming in from that side. Let's pop bits of shadows over here as well, from the bridge and so on. Have a look in, folks. So, I've not used any kind of detail brushes really on the picture. Here I've got a branch and detail brush. These are my sort of special brushes for doing all that nice bit of detail. It's like a size 10 brush here, and then it feeds the tip, and you sort of load this up, and it means you don't have to reload it every few seconds. It's like a rigger brush that's surrounded by a sort of bulbous reservoir that keeps you sort of feeding the tip a little bit, which is lovely. And for this picture, I'm going to use this brush to put a few branches in the trees in some nice little bits of detail. Okay, and that to me is going to make such a difference. So Doreen's asking, where is this scene? Well, it's kind of from the head. I suppose at the back of the mind I'm thinking sort of Derbyshire Dales, Lake District, Yorkshire Dales, that kind of thing. But I suppose really it's a case of whatever, you know, it's wherever we think it is. Doesn't really matter, does it? You know, it's our picture as such. So a few little bits to wrap up then. I'm going to put some detail on. In fact, while I'm talking here, I'm actually going to use a little bit of darkness, not a huge amount, just a touch. I'll pop that on the top of the bridge just there, because I want to create some depth over here. Come back to the tree brush again. I'll make it look a little bit darker at the back there. I want to clean that brush, dab it on tissue. Then I want to soften that out so it creates more of a distant effect. So I'm basically blending it with that tree brush like we used earlier. Can you see it sort of pushes that bit back, creates a bit of depth, and I think that's quite important over there, because it sort of goes behind. Now if I go a little bit darker there, put that piece of paper back in place, just a rough edge really. About where it was, I think. I'm trying to line it up now. There we go, that's where it was. So I'll just put a bit more grey at the bottom. It'll help the bridge pop out, it'll help the trees recede as well. Can you see that bit of depth we've created? Sort of push that back, bring that forward. As long as you blend it away, it's going to work for you. Same over here as well. If I pop this piece of paper on the edge of the bridge, stipple, make sure it's nice and dark at the bottom, lighter at the top, and work it into the trees. Clean the brush, dab it on some tissue so it's almost dry, and then fade that all into the background. This is a great thing about using cotton paper. Once it's almost dry, you can work over the top without worrying about washing off. It just helps to create a bit of depth, I think, which for me is quite a nice thing to do. Anyway, sorry folks, that was something that I sort of walked back on the picture and saw that. I thought, you know, it needs something extra. Makes a difference. So towards the top of the painting then, the watercolour, I want to use this branching detail brush and mix up quite a strong colour here. So we're going to be using grey and dark skin together. So we've got this nice kind of rich colour going off here. And I want to use this colour quite striking to paint some branches in. So basically I've loaded up this part of the brush here, and that'll keep feeding that tip. Again, these are available online, so if you like the brushes you can get them. And we can do this in a few places. So if we come down to here, I can use them to paint in some nice branches, nice little bits of trees and twigs and various things. Not a huge amount of detail here, but I'm using the tip of this brush to sort of bring these into play. Trying to taper the branches off as they disappear off, and you can see I've put some over the top of that area as well. And of course I could also use this as well down here, popping in some tall grasses, poking out of the snow. Put some little dots over the top of those. Makes it quite interesting. Same over this side as well, especially in this corner here. Pop some tall grasses on. Pop some on the edge of the scene there if you want to. Oh, sorry. Can't see those, can you? There we go. Bringing some trees into play. Now I've not had to reload the brush yet. I'm still on the same load of colour what I added a few minutes ago. There we go. Always makes a difference if it's... Oh, just took a chunk out of the ceiling there. That was that strange noise. Wasn't my head. Pop that just there. And then I want to work this thing over here. Just put in as many or as few as I want of these, really. A few little branches and twigs. It just adds a bit of interest, don't it, to the area. Same up here as well. Over this side. I keep it nice and misty at the top, so I love that mist we've created in the winter scene. Just a few branches kind of sweeping in that top corner. The brush is just starting to run out of colour now, which is nice because it gives you like a speckled effect. So you can, it's like having a pen in your hand. If you've ever used a rigger brush, you've probably found that you have to keep reloading it, but with this one you don't, you can keep going. Makes a difference putting these little bits in, I always think. Beautiful. Every little helps, yeah? So if we take a look at what we've just created, we can see those gorgeous branches that just kind of nice and soft branches. Really makes a difference, don't it, putting those in, especially down sort of here in that shadowed area that we painted in. Over this side and over here, nice few little sort of wispy branches, just brings it all together. And of course in the background of this we could always pop in a few extra little flicks of colour. I could also use that brush as well to go in and add a little bit of extra contrast here and there to the bridge, you know, if I want to do some extra little bits of detail work just around in between some of the stonework. Little bits of sort of the darker shadows between the stones. Over here as well. Mainly using grey and dark skin, just as I used earlier on for this thing. There we go. It all helps. Beautiful. Making sure that the edge at the back's nice and dark as well. And over this side, I'm going to pop in some sort of fence posts and something like a gateway or something. Always nice to paint in some old rustic fence posts coming in. Gives a bit of scale and a bit of interest to the picture. So like an old fence there. And imagine just here, there's the edge of an old gate or something that's seen better days. Like an old gate on the side. It gives scale to a painting. There's a bird on the top of that gate, you see? It's a bearded chuff. Whatever they are. So yeah, folks, as we get towards the all important final bits of this picture, just please do have a little think about booking onto the live workshop. I know as I'm talking, lots of people have booked on because I'm seeing them come up on my sort of live feed, as it were. Very enjoyable days, and I promise you'll enjoy them. You really will. If you've wanted to start painting for a long time, then there's no better time to do it than now. All of us are spending that little bit more time at home than what we normally do, so it's a great opportunity to get involved and start a new medium, start a new hobby. Escapism in art, I'm calling it, because that's exactly what it is. So I'm just putting a few extra little bits of finishing touches to the bridge. A few flicks at the back, represent trees and various things. And I'm actually going to come back to where I started now. Let's just take a look back at the picture. Beautiful. Really enjoyed doing this one. I want to come back to how we started, folks, with this brush. I'm using this big brush, nice and clean. Squeeze out the excess and any kind of dark colour that's in the so for the last few minutes I'm going to use a bit of dark colour with this brush and do a nice little bit of gentle dark stippling around the top of the painting. Let's get close in so you can see. This makes all the difference. It's always the last pieces that make the difference for me. Sort of gradually ease this down. So working over the top of what we've just done, but just in the corners over here as well. That little bit of extra stipple around just sort of darkens the corner, the top corner more so, and gradually ease off the pressure as you work lower down. For those last little bits of winter foliage and a little bit of spit and polish, folks. A lovely little thing for the past couple of seconds here. Get nice and close in just here, look, to that corner. If you've got any tall grasses that are standing proud against the white snow, a thing I always like to do is take a bit of violet, bit of natural violet, we've got a bit here, and pop in some shadows from them to make them look as though they actually sat in the snow over this side as well. That little flick of violet, and even from the little gate post, the fence and the gate over here, pop in a bit of a shadow. Makes a difference, don't it, these little bits? Always the last little bits at the end, folks, every single time, that makes the pictures work so well on the watercolour. Now I'm going to take the masking tape off, folks, and I'm going to show you this picture from a bit of a distance, because it's always nice to see a crisp, clean edge around a painting. Let's get that thing there so we can see it. So we'll take the tape off, pull it away from the picture, and that is a warm wintry watercolour, folks. Okay. And hope you enjoyed watching that, folks. I thoroughly enjoyed painting it with you. As always, I love doing the live stuff, so please have a little think about booking into the workshop on Sunday the 26th of April if you're watching this back live. And also, if you like my kind of painting, hit subscribe, and also don't forget we've got the Watercolour TV for membership. This will stop on YouTube for a while. Please do check it out. Thank you. We had quite a lot of people watching that picture, so I'm really pleased. And I just want to say, keep safe, keep well, and I look forward to seeing some of you on Sunday. There's still time to book your space, and more stuff to come with live demos and workshops, so please do hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are. Stay safe, and happy painting.